Hello, everybody. I'm going to wait and let everybody get back on here. I have no idea what that was about. I would have to say that was on YouTube's end. So, how unusual to find a green screen. So, oh, and let me do something. I'm going to go delete the other one so people don't go there thinking that's where we are. Ah, Malcolm found me. Thank you, sweetheart. Thank you. Thank you. So I saw for a second that Meltem, let me see. I saw for a second that Meltem said it was hot in Turkey. I am so sorry about that. So it's been hot here too. We are tired of that. Okay. So, okay. Well, it looks like it might have erased the other one. So that's good. Okay. Well, whoops, wait, nope, there it is. Let me get rid of it. Let me get rid of the old one. I don't want anyone going to that one thinking that's where we are right now. So, done. Okay. All right, so now I can close this out and it will just be us. Okay. All right. Now let me close this. I think I've done it. Okay. Hi everybody. I'm sorry about this craziness. I realized before I came on, I said, let me test the microphone. The battery was dead as a doornail because we had such fun last week doing our class, our Bargello class. So let's see. Oh, hello. Hello, Svetlana. How are you? Okay, let me see. Hello, everyone. Meltem is here. Laura. BB, hi, sweetheart. It is so glad to see Jody found us. Laura, 113, Laura. Oh, honey, you have to move closer to us. That is so hot. So, oh, good. Meltem's working on 2 bags. Oh, that's wonderful. I really loved your quilt of the man when he was a child and then an old man. That was really nice. So, and Marcia has Turkish yarn. Yay. Hi, Miss Marcia. And oh, so good. Kathy Klein found us again. I hope we're still missing 6 people. I hope more. Barbara Smith. Hi, hon. It's good to see you. So, and Kathy Klein found us again. So this is great. And I am working on putting the last border on my Bargello quilt. And so we're going to talk about that today. I absolutely loved taking the class or giving the class and having so much time with my wonderful peeps. And let me find where I was working. Okay. I'm going to take out the pins and see. It is so good to see everybody. You are very welcome, hon. So, okay. Now, oh, and I'm not sure if you can see, but we still have our Ukrainian flag up because we're hoping for a something to happen that will end that unlawful invasion. So get those people, get their life back to normal. Okay, now I'm going to show you also how, let me get it ironed nice and smoothly. I'm going to show you how to do a mitered corner. I thought I couldn't get this done in time. I couldn't get this done in time to have it finished. And I said, well, it's a good time to look at how to make a mitered corner. So that's what we're going to do. All right. While everyone's finding their way back, we're still down a few people. I always worry that people, when we have something like this happen, say, oh, forget it. I'll go somewhere else. It's like, oh, I don't want to lose you. So, okay. So I have put the inner border and the outer border on. And this time I decided to put the two borders together, put them on as a unit. And it means you'll waste a little more of the purple, this dark, it looks blue to y'all, but it's purple fabric. But anyway, so I've got all my borders on and everything mitered except this last corner. And what I do, because some people really dread mitering a corner, it's not that bad, and I'll show you. What you're going to do is fold your quilt right sides together at that corner. You're going to make a kind of triangular shape. Let me get you down here. Oh, okay. Hi, Debbie, hon. I know. I don't know if I have pictures of Debbie's. That might be the only one I have a picture of, unless I've missed something. But what I did is I folded my quilt on an angle to bring the two corner pieces together. So you can see here is that edge. I want to make sure that my seams all line up, because if my seams line up, then that means I have a perfect corner. And believe it or not, I think I did pretty good on this one. So I'm going to get my tailor's chalk and a ruler. And what I do is I lay the ruler right even with this fold line of the quilt. So the quilt is folded. The two sides that don't have the corner mitered yet, I fold them in a triangular wedge. And this way, I'm getting that 45-degree angle that I need to make a mitered corner. So I line this ruler up right where the fold is on this quilt. And just to show you again, see how I've folded the two sides that'll make the mitered corner, folded them together and matched up the seam allowances so I know they're folded correctly. And then I take my tailor's chalk and I mark my miter like that. Now I'll bring it to the sewing machine. Now, I forgot to pin it, so I am making sure to hold this miter together until I pin it. And that's really important to pin it because you don't want to shift the fabrics. You want them to still line up correctly. Okay. And then I'm going to stitch it. Hi, Betty. Oh, that's great. You've been working on that. All right, so I'm going to line up the needle right with that folded edge of the quilt to make sure that I am on that same 45-degree angle. And then I just stitch down my chalk line. Stitch right down my chalk line. This. Okay. Come on, cut my thread. Everything is being a bit sluggish today. I'm not sure what my camera was sluggish and sewing machine. I think it's just a hot, humid day and everything's tired. All right. So now what I do before I go trimming up the seam allowance, because there's a lot of fabric to cut off, but don't cut it off until you check that mitered corner. And only when you've checked it and it looks okay and it lays nice, only then do you cut off your excess fabric. As long as the excess fabric is there, you can go back and touch it up. Okay, so see now I'm opening up this side again. I'm going to press it with the fabric laying to one direction. Kind of just see on this, something like this, just see where the fabric wants to lay and go with it. So this is looking pretty darn good. I think I have this one. All right. So I press it really good. Now, let me see. I didn't iron the whole side that I just put the last border on. So let me press this out really quickly. Then I'm going to go hang it up so you can see how this turned out. Let me go ahead and cut off the excess fabric. And then this excess fabric will go in the scrap pile for when I want to make a cute little applique quilt or put my little scraps together. All right, let me finish ironing this side and then I'm going to hang it up. All right, now got to look for the top because this quilt does have a top and a bottom. So I like to make sure I've got, all right, this is the top. This block is my first block. Let me hang this up. I'll be right back to show it to you. All right. It's a little bit large, but I think you'll still be able to see it pretty good. Let's see. All right. And mine's larger than the pattern because I added more rows when I had the excess. Now, so that is our Bargello quilt that we did. And it's got a dark inner border and then the outer border. Now, like I usually do, I like to look at this and kind of critique it, especially since I'm going to make another one. One thing I noticed when I hung this up is the outer border fabric looks a little, I want to say the word peaked, but this outer border fabric, I don't think stands up to the Bargello. Thank you, sweeties. Do you see what I'm saying? I think the center is too bold to have this border fabric. So I've already cut up all of these strips to make the second one. So I don't want to go back and lighten the fabrics up. Now, there are two things I could do. I could take the leftover 2.5-inch strips and cut them into a piano key border, which would kind of continue the same color pattern into the border. Or one thing I might want to do if I want to stay with that border fabric is instead of using a dark inner border, see that what looks like a dark blue inner border? I'm thinking of using the white. See this white right here? I'm thinking of using that for my inner border and maybe even making it a little bit wider. And that way it would give your eye a chance to rest after all these bold colors. It would give it a chance to rest before looking at the outer border. So if you have any suggestions, I would love for you to share it. The pattern is a very good pattern. It's free from northcott.com. It's called the Serenity pattern. And here it is right here. It's a free download at northcott.com. And I love it. I think it's a wonderful pattern. It gives a lot. Oh, that's a good idea too. Use the brown as an inner border. Yeah, I'm thinking a darker exterior border. I love bright colors, but this is a case where I wish I had softened all these shades. So many of these. I wish I had softened them. The reds and the oranges are a little bright. It's good to have a dark blue and a white, but I just wish that the center wasn't quite so dominant. So if you notice in the pattern quilt, she's got lovely colors, but they're not so bold. They really do blend with that border. So that's what we're going to try to figure out. I have, like I said, I can change the color of the inner border and maybe make it wider so you have a space for calm before the outer border, or I might just take all the leftover pieces of this and make it as a piano key border. And that way, just enjoy it for what it is, which is really bright and happy. But do you see my point about the outer border maybe is, Yes, the border on has a good amount of orange in it, but the quilt is so bold that you don't quite see that. That's my one problem. So I am going to bind this with orange, so that will help. But when I put it together, I felt like the outer border was too calm. And I don't know, maybe it's good to have a calm outer border, but I felt like it looks more washed out. What do you think? It was such a bold pattern that I thought the colors could handle it, but I do think it has kind of overpowered. So that's where I am. And if I hadn't have cut out all of the strips for the next quilt, then I would have taken out the red. I would have taken out some of the red and the orange and used softer shades of those. So I like critiquing when I'm with you. Oh, thank you. I still like it. I just was a little disappointed that the border fabric, which I really love, has gotten overpowered. And that's a problem. That's something I always have to work on because I love color. But just too much color can be too much. But I do like it. I love Bargello is a wonderful pattern. People who took the class this week. Oh, good. Okay, that's what I was thinking too, BB. It's like there's not a place for your eye to rest. That's something always remember when you make a quilt. Have a place for your eye to rest. So luckily, I'm going to see what I can do. And then next week, it might take me a week to make the second one, or it might take me 2 weeks. And if you're not aware of what piano keys are, it's a border where you pick your width and you make it about 6 inches, and you have all the colors that are in your quilt sewn together in a long strip. And that is a possibility, but definitely with a wider inner border to give your eye a place to rest. So, okay, so that is this. We had a great time at the class this week. I thank you very much. Um, Let me double check. I don't think anyone has sent me. If you have a picture of your Bargello that you've been working on, send it to my email and I will check. And I don't think, whoops, I do have one new one. Let me just check. Oh, okay. I see what that is. Oh, nope. There are two on our group. Oh, yay. So I do have a picture. Let me see. This is great. Okay, I will save these for our show and tell. So that's wonderful. Thank you, Miss Mary. Oh, we got a couple, but let's see. All right, I need to save this real quick. Give me just one moment. And let's see. So I got some great pictures in this week. Thank you so much for thinking of us. So let me put this in Mary's. There. I'll put this in Mary's. All right. Save that. I love it. Y'all, the last minute photos are just what I do. It's like we want to show you, but then, well, we want to make sure that we get as much done on it as we can. Oh, wow. I'm seeing some great fabrics in these Bargellos. Wait till I share them with you. Ooh, you know what? Kathy, did you send me a picture? Because yours was so dynamic. I would really like to show people. So if you send it to my email real quick, that would be great. Ooh, this is really cool. All right. Now let me go up here to Miss Betty. Oops, hold on. All right, give me 1 second because I know we would love to see everyone's. Oh, and Joni doesn't have a new baby yet? Oh my goodness. Aw. Okay, so we don't have baby news for Miss Joni's grandson. That is exciting. Okay. So now remind me when I show pictures. I've got two pictures in the wrong folder. So I will have to move those to the right folder. Oh, and one more thing. Okay. Oh, Betty, the picture you sent me of your jacket is wonderful. I love that. So she took a red sweatshirt and turned it into a Bargello jacket. And I think you'll like it. All right, let me save that real quick because I don't want to miss these. Okay. So some of these are Betty M's and some of these are Debbie Holtz. So I got to, I love the back of the jacket that Betty sent a picture of. Wait till you see it. We might have to hurry up and do our show and tell because I can't wait to share these photos with you. So pardon me for wanting to grab these last minute photos. but it really is nice to have these today to show you. Okay, I'm going to sneeze. Pardon me. I'll probably sneeze one more. I always sneeze in twos. I'm sure a lot of you do the same thing. All right. So I got those. That is so good. And I'll come back up. And if you have a photo of a Bargello clip you've been working on, let me know. Now I'm going to come back to y'all. Okay, here we go. Oh, hi, Alexis, dear Grand. How are you? I saw your picture. I loved seeing the emblem you have for your work. You've got your own logo, and I've got a picture of it to show it, show and tell, and your latest work. Looking really, really good, hon. So do it. Keep up the great work, okay? All righty. Now, hi, Catherine. I'm wondering, Debbie's here. I love that Alexis snuck in there for a moment, and we'll show you Alexis's photo and her new logo. So, that's really good. If you're going to have a business, make sure you get a logo, something you can be associated with. So, all right, now let's go to the next thing. So that's our Bargello that's behind me right now. So this week in the evening, I was tired from doing class. And so I worked on, let me just pull out this couple stitches while you're right here. I put this on my sewing machine upstairs this morning and tried to do a little outline stitching before I was going to show this to you. And remember, I told you that I have to do long arm sewing. I am not any good at doing domestic quilting. I am just not any good at it. Okay, let me see which one of these I'm pulling back up. Okay, there we go. So when I would sit in the evening after our fun classes, because I had a busy week, to pick up my daughter from her surgery, and then I had the dogs groomed, and there was a lot going on. So at night, I was so tired. All I worked on was stitching down my blue dahlia. So now it is completely hand appliqued to the background. Now, the reason the edges are a little fussy, this is raw edge applique, and it had been put on a foundation. And then I tucked under the foundation, but left the edges of this. So for all intents and purposes, this is raw edge applique. And what I did is put 2 layers of batting scraps under the flower. And as I outline stitch, it will give it, if I turn it sideways, you can kind of see some of the depth, but it will give it a little bit of a 3D relief. Now, I'm not quilting it as such. I'm outline stitching the flower. And then what I'm going to do when I'm done with my outline stitching, I talked about having from this blue corner, I'm going to have a flower petal falling down and a couple leaves like floating down. And then when I'm done with my outline stitching, and I'm going to outline stitch on the leaves, and then I'm going to do some hand embroidery around stamens around the center. And then I'm going to put a whole piece of batting under what I end up trimming off and leaving as the piece, a whole piece of batting, and then a piece of backing. Then I will do quilting. And the only quilting on the flower are going to be around the outside of the flower. And then I'll either do echo quilting or do a little bit of echo quilting and then go into cross hatching. The reason I'm going to quilt it more heavily is so that the dimension of the flower is what comes forward. When you quilt, especially the heavier you quilt on your background, the more that the pieces that you don't do as much quilting, they come forward. And the heavier you quilt on a background, the more it recedes. And I thought that way the dahlia can, the dahlia can, um, the dahlia can be the standout. I want it to be like 3-dimension. So then when it's all done quilting, then I'm going to do some bead work. So I'm very excited. I can't wait to see how this goes. And at some point, I'm going to count how many pieces of fabric. I know it's in the hundreds, but I think it's kind of fun. When I went over to my daughter, she loves doing canvas paint by numbers. And what we ended up finding out is the AC is on for Laura, but I wonder if it can even keep up with 113 degrees. But the thing is, I told her that some people take paint by number canvases, trace over the lines that are on there, and then use fabric. Instead of paint, they use fabric to fill it in. So I love how in the craft and creative industry, we borrow from each other. And this reminds me a lot of what we used to call the paint by number. But anyway, so I just thought I'd show you I've made good progress on that. And there is some of my outline stitching, but I'm going to have to be pulling some threads, I think, because I am not the best at moving things under my sewing machine needle. I wish I could have put it on my long arm and done the outline stitching. I'm better at that, but I still have my beach quilt that I haven't finished. So I think the next couple weeks, it's going to be trying to get a couple of our projects to a better place so I can show you how that's working. All right, so that is our flower fusion, because this was all fused. I used Steam-A-Seam 2 to put all the pieces on there. Then before I pinned it down that's another good thing. Let me tell you about that. All right, so I had 2 pieces of batting to put under this to give it dimension. The first piece was bigger. The second piece was smaller. And the reason you do that is you'll get a domed effect from the batting. And I put the smaller piece against this flower side, then put the bigger piece over that. That gives you the best lift if you want to get a 3-dimensional flower. And then I put just little dots of glue to hold it in place while I stitch down the edge of the flower. But now I'll tell you another little trick. I started just to stitch by itself and soon noticed that it was really wanting to pucker. I had it pinned in a few places. What I decided, I went back, laid it flat, and I took and made big basting stitches all the way around this flower so I could stitch it onto the background. And they're big stitches because it was real easy then when I had the flower fully sewn down. It was very easy to pull out the basting stitches. So remember that, especially if you're working on something by hand where you're constantly grabbing the fabric and turning it and moving it, because when I saw what it was going to do, and this has interfacing on the back, but it was still going to pucker up. So doing that basting stitch around the outer shape of the flower was the perfect decision. And then when I was done, I cut the big knots that were right on the top and just pulled it out. All righty. So there is that. And I do want to tell you, oh, thank you. They are right pretty together, aren't they? And Mark said, putting it on the black was very dynamic. So thank you. Y'all helped me decide that last week. So hopefully I'll keep working on this in the evenings and we'll have that done. So I talked to you about the Bargello class. If you're a member of our group, I've got the classes on video. Please understand they are very rough videos. For one thing, I had a hard time remembering to turn on the camera. For the other thing, the recordings kept going off, so I'd have to try to remember to start them again. But they're very rough. I didn't have time to do any video editing, but at least if you want to see, you'll have to scroll through to see where I'm actually teaching important parts of the Bargello. But they are on our site. And members only, because we're just keeping it private between us. I'm not putting those videos on YouTube to go out to the public. That was just our class. It's a free class. And if you join our group, you'll have access to them. But even if you don't join our group, and it's free to join our group, even if you don't join our group and you want the pattern information, just shoot me an email at ourtimetoquilt@twc.com and I will send you the patterns. I try to keep everything on our site free, and I don't even get paid for it. I haven't figured all that stuff out. And the pattern we used is the Serenity Bargello. And there is an actual video from Patty Carey. The pattern is by Patty Carey. And so you can go to northcott.com and type in Serenity Bargello. The pattern will pop right up. And it's a really good pattern. I'm sorry I had to cancel Thursday night's art quilt group. I realized I hadn't had a single moment to put any work into the triptychs. I didn't want to waste your time. When I have more done and have more to talk about, then I will be very happy. I made most of this quilt. I was trying to finish it up during class, plus cut out the next one. And that was very successful. By making a fresh new quilt, there were a lot of little things that I caught that I would have forgotten since I haven't taught this quilt for a while. But it's a fun quilt. We all made mistakes. That's okay. I don't know how you would do this quilt and not make a mistake, because getting all of the rings, going in the right direction. But we realized there are about 800 pieces in this quilt. So thank goodness we used strip sets and then cut those strip sets into rings where we could then decide which way to turn them to make the design flow. That saved us so much. So don't worry if there are a few little mistakes on there. This coming Thursday, I will make sure to take time to get that triptych, get it as far close to finished as I can, and give you more hints and tricks about how I did that triptych. Now, a triptych is an art piece, picture, or quilt in 3 pieces. So right now we're just building the body of the quilt. And as soon as all the colors are worked out and zigzag stitched in place with invisible thread, then we'll decide how to turn it into a triptych. And you don't have to turn yours into a triptych. It was just, I said, I wanted to learn that technique. And we had a wonderful person said, I have an idea, earth, wind, and fire. And I found something to work on that I thought represented earth, wind, and fire well. So, okay. Then our next exciting thing to talk about today is our circle weaving. And then after we do our show and tell, I will then, if for a couple of you who want to know what is it like, I'll give you a quick little refresher on the Bargello process. So stay around until we are done with our show and tell, and I'll just kind of give you a walkthrough, a real pedestrian walkthrough of the Bargello process. Well, I binged watch on Netflix last night, and look what I made. Whoop, that's the back. Here is the back. Here is the front. This circle weaving is addictive. It is so much fun. So this is working. What I did when I showed you this 2 weeks ago, I took out and started fresh, except I left the spokes in place. And this, it's a very thick thread. It's working beautifully for spokes. Let me show you up close. Whoops. You can see the orange spokes. You can see them through the yarn I used in the middle. And right here, I just stuck a pink bead on there, but I'm not sure yet what else I'm going to add to this. But this is fun. I grabbed a bag of yarn that has texture to it. And I am being very bohemian, and I'm just adding whatever I want to in this. One of the things I want to do is to get some real wool roving and then work in some wool roving. But this is so much fun. So I'm hoping that you can see this pretty good. Let me show you the back again. And boy, is this fun. So if you have any access to yarns, strings, roving, you name it, you can weave. And I know, aren't the different textures wonderful? So I'm going to continue weaving between these things, and I'm going to, in just a moment, show you how to weave this. So I'll show you. Let's show you first the yarns I pulled to work with. Okay. I had a blue chenille, and I'm not sure what this is. It would be an eyelash, but it's a thick eyelash. And then another chenille that's wrapped in a singular thread. I started with this, but so far I haven't worked. I took it back off and I haven't worked with that yet. Then I have a wonderful tan chenille, a pink nubby, a pink eyelash, a green slubby kind of green and orange slubby yarn. I took and wove this pink with the pink eyelash to give it a little bit more oomph. I haven't even used this one yet, but I think that'll be really pretty. And I started the center with this. And this would be more like a candle wicking yarn. It's kind of a nice shiny, it's not very fuzzy. So these are the yarns I chose from. And then I will bring the camera down because I want to show you how easy it is to do the stitches. Now I'm ordering some cotton twine, I guess you call it, or cotton string, so that when I want to make another one of these. And I thought I could use that instead of this. But honestly, I'm really tickled with this. It is an Aurifil, and it's like a size 12. So it's nice and thick. Okay. So I can't wait to use this. Look at those colors. But the first thing I'm going to do is finish with this. Yeah, this would be a great thing for you to do. Yes, I had all of these in my stash. I had a sister-in-law who is a lifelong knitter, um, and she has a knitting group. And I asked them, I guess about 10 years ago, do y'all have any yarns that you can't or don't want to use anymore that you might be willing to sell to me or give to me so that I can have them for my quilt project? And guess what? I got a great big bag of all kinds of yarns. And these are just the first ones I pulled. Okay, so now let me turn to about where I'm going to start. Oh, let's start at the beginning. This is just an wooden embroidery hoop. Okay. I took the heavy yarn and I taped it to the outside of this inner hoop. Okay, you can see some of the tape like right here. But what I did is I did across the entire hoop. So there's a front piece and a back piece on almost all of these. Now, when you do this, when you put these threads on the hoop, you have to wrap it an uneven time. Okay. So don't just put 28 spokes around, you have to have 29. And that might mean you just do one from the center and out, because that's how having an uneven one is how you continue the under and over pattern. If they were even, you would keep doing the same thing and it wouldn't be under and over. And it's the under and over that gives you the strength needed. And so once I tied the strings on nice and tightly, then I put the outer ring on and tightened it down really well. And that will help keep your strings nice and taut. They're tied. I wrapped them once around and then tied them. And once I finish doing this weaving, then I will take off the outer loop, cut this pair of threads and tie them together, and that will keep it from falling apart. So, this is a great way to make a round pillow, a round wall hanging, a round pillow, anything like that. All right, so you can see right here that this yarn has come up from underneath this pair of spokes. So, and I perfected a way of doing the weaving that makes it so easy. This is a great big non-sharp. You can get them in plastic, metal, whatever. Just a great big needle. Now, let's say you didn't have one of these needles. You could use a small knitting needle or crochet hook or whatever and just tape the yarn to it. Okay, so what you're going to do, what I do is I know it's coming from underneath this spoke. So now I'm going to go on the top of the next spoke. And then to make it easy, just back it out of the next one, then go back in the next one, then back it out of this, then go in, back it out, go in, back it out, go in and back it out. Then what you do is you just take and pull it through, because you can see it's going over and under. And then if you want to tighten it, it's to keep you from having to yank on the yarn, just take a wooden skewer and just tighten it down like this. So now I'll show it to you again. And I'm going to continue to go around with this one. I'm going to stop with about 3 inches left, and that's what I'll use to tie on my next yarn. Okay. So it came from underneath this spoke, I'm going to go on top of this one, then back the needle out. See how easy it is just to go over and under and over and under. Now, it takes more time when you first start because you've got to keep track of your pairs of threads. And then when I get about 6 or 7 stitches on, then I pull it. And then you can decide how snugly you want to make it. Now, if you don't have fuzzy yarns, you know what you could do? You could take your quilt fabric and cut thin strips, and you could use your fabrics with this process. All right, so now I'm going to keep on because I want to finish up about 8 more inches of this yarn. So it's just go down, then come back up through the next spoke, just making sure you go over and under, and keep on going until you feel like, okay, I'm going to pull it here. And this is absolutely put on a audio book or something on TV that you don't have to watch a lot. Just listen to, and off you go. And then pull it snug. The main thing you want to do is keep roughly the same distance away from the outer ring, because sometimes these, depending on how much you remember to tuck like this, sometimes it can get a little off shape. So, and when you're starting in the beginning, just try to make sure that you're starting right in the center. But you can start and stop wherever you want. And I'm planning on making a fringe around the end of this. Once I tie it off, then I'm going to sew some fringe on it. All right, so now I think, let me go under and over just a couple more times so I don't waste this blue chenille yarn. Okay, and I've got a long enough piece that I can now tie to my next. Here is the eyelash yarn, and I want to start weaving with this. So what I did is I folded a piece in half so it's a little extra thicker because the eyelash yarn is a little bit thin. Now, when I go to tie, I do 2 loops around. So that will give me a locked knot here. Okay. And just pull the ends out good, because yarn will pull against each other and they will slip right out of the knot you had planned for them. So don't tug too hard. Then I'm going to go ahead and cut off the ends of the knot, and then come up to this end of the double strand and put my needle back on. You know, even though I'm mostly a quilter, I love all kinds of crafts. And watching our very own Polly, do weaving is phenomenal. So I go down, then come back up, then down. And I like using the end of that needle to come back through because it makes it so easy. The one thing you have to be careful of is not to split these threads. These 2 right here are 1 spoke. Okay, so now I've got this started. So next thing is to go back down, then come up, then go down, up, down, up. Whoops, let me get this out of the way so I can see what I'm doing. Up, down, up, down, up. So now this This method is something I saw an idea. I have not watched how they did it. I just did this my own kind of way, which is how I like to do most things. This yarn, once it's woven in, you can cut excess knots off, but wait until it's woven in. Don't pull or tug on your knots. Just come in with your little wooden skewer or chopstick or whatever. I find wood works really good with fibers because it tends not to slip. And so that way you can tighten things up. All right. So let's go around again. But I love what the eyelash yarn does for this weaving project. And this is called circle weaving. And I thought, it's a way for me to get used to weaving without setting up a loom yet, getting a little bit of weaving. Now, I'll tell you another thing. I don't like to put stress on my spokes. I don't like to put stress on my yarn. So then when I get ready to pull it through, I lay it back here so it more easily will go right through the spokes. And just make sure it doesn't bunch up here. Make sure it's smooth. But look at that. Isn't that awesome? And I'll probably come behind this with a nice smoother yarn to let this eyelash really carry the day. Okay, so I'll go down, come back up, down, up. This is just so much fun. I mean, it takes very little bit of brain power to do this. Isn't this great? I thought I need to have something to show my ladies, so I'm gonna start this. I had no idea that it was gonna be so much fun. I probably did this for 3 hours. It was so much fun. So if you have any questions, just ask me. But you could do this with any kind of yarn or fabric you want. Let's say you don't have a yarn that's like this eyelash yarn. Well, then you know what you can do is take some fabric and pull at the edges and make it nice and furry. And like you're doing your own chenille or rag quilt. And then you can weave fabric in that you've kind of frayed the edges. So if you don't have a great yarn stash like I'm lucky enough to have, whoops, let me bring this back up. I keep bumping it. What? No, you don't. Get back up there. So, whoops. Getting tired. All right. So then I go down and then come back up and down and up and down and up. Okay, now I have enough of a tail to tie off. So I'm going to let me do 2 more stitches. I hate to waste the yarn. So down and up. There, that's pretty good. That's better. And then I'm just going to cut this loose from the needle. Now, I want something smooth after that so that it's not too fussy. Let me think. I'll tell you what, I'll let y'all choose. Should I do this yarn or should I do this yarn? Which one of these should I use for the next go around? And the green one? Okay. I'll use the green one. Using something just a little bit smoother so that it lets the eyelash yarn be the star. So here you just wrap the new one around twice to lock that together. Then do one more loop and pull it tight tight as you can without putting stress on the weaving or the yarn. All right, and I'm going to pull out a good size piece. I don't like trying to weave with this huge long piece of yarn. So I feel like as long as I'm using nubby yarns, I can tie on a new one without people being able to see the knots very well. Now, if you're doing, oops, come on. I'm gonna have to get Mark to tighten up one of the arms. But if you're doing something like all smooth like this, then tying a knot would definitely show. Oh, yeah, this is purple and green and with a blue wrapped around it. And so it works really, I think it works good with this, with the autumn colored eyelash yarn. Now, if you want the eyelash yarn to really show too, then just come around with your fingernails or a hairbrush and just kind of brush it up. And you can go to the back and do the same thing and just kind of, because it tends to get tucked in. So just use your hand, your fingers to fluff it out. All right, so now I'm back to this, and here's the knot. So I'm really careful until I get that knot bedded in. Very careful because I know that that knot is vulnerable. It's very hard to tie yarn into knots. So I'm just going to go over and under, over. Oops, let me get my yarn out of the way. Under, over, under, over, under, over, under. And you can, just about anything you can think of, you can weave into here. I was even thinking I could get grasses or pine needles or whatever to work. And now I can give it a little bit of a tug, but if you need to tighten it up, don't forget your skewer or chopstick. Okay. And I thought of the skewer or chopstick because I thought weavers have a comb type thing they can use to tighten up. And I thought, well, then this will work for this. And everybody has a chopstick or a skewer. Move that thread over that way. Okay. Just pull it through. And I will probably go around with this current one 4 times at least so that you can see it, because the eyelash yarn tends to kind of cover it up so you don't really see it. And I have already used this right here. That's what formed this dark ring here. So, and and I can decide later what color scheme I want to use. So I could, this time I just grabbed some. I wasn't really, I didn't have a plan. I just grabbed some. All right, so get the yarn back this way, over and under. This was so much fun. So now I'm going to want to, think of what else can I weave into this, because this is fun. And it's very simple. And you can just use up things you have on hand. What do you think? And here's the back. I always like to show you the back. So now I don't worry about keeping the back as pretty as the front, but if you didn't worry, you could tuck your knots towards the back, or you can try to just tuck them in along the string that you're weaving. But you can see how very easy. I had to work. I said, now, how do I do this? How do I hold the ring and do the weaving? And by putting my hand under the ring like this, and by passing the needle so easily, it really solved the issue of how am I going to do this weaving? But you just work out a system for you, and feel free to show me pictures of what you thought to do, because like I said, I didn't search for a tutorial on how do I do this. I just wanted to do it. So pretty easy. Yes, they are. It is pretty even. All right. So I think that's good for right now. And as I continue to go around, I'll show you more. I like what this little fluffy eyelash looks like. And I love the chenilles, because chenilles will give you, such a depth. And I like when I do something fluffy like this eyelash, I like coming behind it and then doing a chenille to kind of like block it in, because I like the different looks of going from yarn to yarn to yarn. So here it is. All right. Well, I hope it's something you might give a try to. To me, it's the perfect summer project. We all have hoops. We all have yarn of some kind, or fabric that we tear into little strips. And you can wind the little strips or just cut them 1/2 inch wide, and use fabric or yarn or string. You could even do something like with white cotton clothesline and twine, make it very rustic. And now I thought about adding beads along this way, but I would have to have quite a big bead to get this needle through. So if I want to add beads later, I'm going to go ahead and use a beading needle and just kind of go back and forth in and out of this to add the beads. And that won't even matter. With a nice thin thread, you won't even notice the thread. So here is my circle weaving. I think it's a big success. I hope you think so too. And I used a finer yarn here because I wanted to get a very good start. And boy, this is nice and firm, and it holds all of my spokes in place very well. And kind of looks, if you think about it, it looks like the center of a flower, doesn't it? All right, so it is now time for show and tell. All right. I will bring you up, show you the Bargello again while I get some things ready. But anyway, I am starting my summer fun time activities, and I can't wait. I've got to figure out my fabric, because I do at some point want to do some more dyeing, but I'm going to have to wait until it's not so hot outside, because I think I'd be miserable. All right, let me turn the camera around and let's see what we have. And in fact, when I say goodbye on here, I'm going to go up and do some more weaving. I am loving it. I love learning new skills and trying new things. So much fun. Okay. Let's see. I'm going to go to the Bargello folder first to just show you some pictures. Oh, okay, my stripes, they looked fine there. Here were the fabrics I ordered to go with the quilt, and I decided to add the other colors. And still, I didn't think there was a problem. I guess I just didn't realize what this red was going to do for the quilt. But there isn't a light red very easily. It seems like to lighten the red up, you go to pink. I was showing you how I left the selvage on one side, so I would know that that's the side where I lined up the strips, and that the strips didn't all finish at the same length, and that wasn't a problem. Then here is where on odd number strips, I had strip 1 and put strip 2 on top and sewed from top to bottom. But once you get the pairs, you're going to sew them from bottom to top. And let me show you. Okay, the first strip set I made, major curve. And I tried using the walking foot, and I sewed them all from the top, but even with the walking foot, do you see that curve? So when I started sewing the strips, each seam went the opposite way, meaning I started sewing this from up here, went down, came over here, sewed from the bottom up, and then sewed from the top down, bottom up, so on and so on. And look how much straighter this strip set is. Isn't that wonderful? So the old-fashioned way of sewing one from the top and one from the bottom is still good. Then I ended up making a tube out of this. I took 2 entire strip sets and laid them horizontally and connected up here. In fact, you know what? Can you see these chairs right there? That is a Bargello, a hand embroidered Bargello seats are on those 2 chairs. I was given these chairs by a dear lady who made these when she, oh gosh, probably 70 years ago, I bet. But anyway, so when I laid down the strips right sides together, this was strip number 1. On top of it, I laid the last strip number 12, then sewed them together so that when you held them up, it would make a continuous line of the same fabric. But that's to show you that, yes, it is a tube. Then I laid the tubes nice and smoothly on the table, and I altered the seam allowances so there were no speed humps to cut over. So I just made sure instead of starting with a full strip, I started with a half so it would offset all the seam allowances. And then this is how you cut when you're dealing with a strip set. So I trimmed up the edge first. Then I used this thinner, smaller ruler. And if I needed to cut a 1/2 inch or 2 inches, this one measured the distance from the edge for me. Then I held it firmly in place and butted my big cutting ruler up to it. Then I could move this out of the way and make my cut. Okay. These are my stickers that are all, I put what number strip it was, and how wide it was. And I also found that I will never again make a 3/4 inch strip. It was just, for me and my big hands and clumsy sewing, it was too fragile. All right. So now I think I might, let me see, I might have all that I wanted to show you. Oh, I did make, and if anyone wants, I've got the pattern addresses, but I also, whoops, not that one. That was one I was going to try to make. Oh, and I wrote up a supply and fabric sheet if you want to make something like this, what you might think of it. So what you need to start off and be ready. Okay. Now, let me see. There was a ring chart that I made. Where is it? Mm-mm. Here it is. I took the ring chart from the pattern, and let me see if I can turn this. I took the ring chart from the pattern and I colored in the sections where you change direction. Just just wanted to give you a nice bright color difference so you could see, which means when you hang the rings to make sure that you're stepping them down to do that amazing design, that you know, oh, with this one you change direction and you turn the ring the opposite way and make it go back up and then back down and then back up. So I have this that I'll happily send you with the pattern too. All right. So that was our Bargello. And let's see. Alexis. I love Alexis's work. And she's even taking commissions now. And she had someone design a logo for her business. And I love this. And here is her logo right down here. And it's an embroidery hoop. I love that. She does such beautiful embroidery. And I'm so tickled that it's going so well for her. Beautiful work. Okay. Then we have a new enthusiastic member, Ann Lewandowski. We're very tickled she's here. And while I'm thinking of it, she downloaded some amazing pictures, lots and lots of them. But unfortunately, our space is limited. So I've asked her that next Sunday, could she cull it down to her top favorites? So make sure you have a chance to look at her wonderful folder, because I wanted to I love the fact that she wants to share her work with us. And I love for you to get inspirations or ideas from people's work. So, but she's going, unfortunately, our group's IO, we only have certain amount of space. And so I've asked her sadly to limit it to 50 in her folder. So make sure you go see her fun, wonderful work. And so I'm going to go through here and show you these. And I love it. It's just, she tries all kinds of different things. And I think it's wonderful. I love the bee here. Isn't that cute? And this is the best way. This is somebody who sits down and says, I wonder what this would do. I wonder what this would look like. And I think she even said that she had gone to a thrift store and scored a whole bunch of frames so she can frame her work. And that's wonderful. I love it. And the more you do, and I can see a decorative stitch from her sewing machine too. So the more you do, these remind me of when people sit down and do like daily sketches. And I love how prolific she is, because then she learns a lot about her skill, her craft. Whoops, nope, I went the wrong way. Okay. Look at that. Isn't that a wonderful collage? Okay. So if you would take time and look at her wonderful photos this coming week before she has to whittle it down a little, because they're amazing. They will give you so many wonderful ideas. Now, I love this. I would love to know how she did this too, with the little strips and the over and under. That is terrific. I love her colors that she uses. So experiment with your colors. She's got an artist eye. Oh, this is the cutest little thing. Look at this one. This is just a small sampling of the cutest thing she's done. Looks like she has a great sense of humor, too. I love her pet alligator. I love these flowers. And I love the different ways she combines fabrics and colors. Isn't that cute? That would make a cute Christmas card, too. So, I love this one. This is a lot more complex. Look at that. I wonder how she did the fence up here. So, she's got some really interesting techniques. All right. This is a nicely framed one. That frame color is perfect. All right, so this is Miss Ann, our newest member. I'm so tickled that she put all of those things on site. Now, this is going to be a split folder. Miss Debbie sent me these pictures. And here is her beach quilt in progress. And it is wonderful. I love the ideas she's done. I just love it. Can't wait to see. I love the way she put the dune grasses in front of this fencing. Very good. Very good. And she even did hers in a nice small size that she felt comfortable to work with. Perfect. And then here is Miss Debbie's Bargello. Isn't that lovely? Now she's doing a different pattern, and some of these were very big pieces too. This was supposed to be a big quilt, but she hung in there, got some help because I was not comfortable with that pattern. I didn't know what she was trying to do, and she never gave up. I was so proud of her. And I love the wash of colors she used. They're beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. And then I think this is Betty Meisner. And this is very exciting. Look at the colors she used. And I love how the light and the dark are right there together. So you get the maximum effect of each of those. But isn't this amazing? And the colors, you can do things with the colors on the quilt that you wouldn't even think about otherwise. Then here is a jacket that she made from a red sweatshirt with the Bargello. See these strips of Bargello? And then I love this is pre-printed fabric that she used to also edge it. Now wait till you see the back of this jacket. Look at that. Way to go, Miss Betty. And I love that she still did all of the piecing, the uneven stripped piecing. That is awesome. Way to go. Thank you, Miss Betty. She's another one of our new members, Betty Meisner. And she's another one of our new members. We love when we get new members because you bring in ideas. Okay, so back to Debbie's folder. I love this. I always love a combination of piecing and applique. And I love this one. Let me see if I can bring this in closer. Isn't that amazing? The fabrics, the color choices, the embroidery. Beautiful. Here is a former Bargello that she did. Lovely. And I love this method of hanging quilts. That way you can take any space and turn it into a display. And it's a curtain rod with the little curtain rings. Love it. That's a very nice quilt too. All right. Thank you, Miss Debbie. And thank you for joining the class, too. It was a lot of fun. Miss Diana B., 2 weeks ago, had a Quilt of Valor presentation ceremony, and she was able to present her two Quilts of Valor. Beautiful work, Connie. Beautiful work. Isn't that lovely? And I hope they're all healing well, because they had an accident, sadly, when a teenager ran into them. So I hope they're healing very well. There she goes. But how wonderful for her to make Quilts of Valor. All right, Miss Jody. Miss Jody popped in this week, and she was working on, I think it was her courthouse steps, but she might have been working on this 1890s 9-patch, which I love. And look at her organization. This woman is squared away, let me tell you. Here is her amazing courthouse steps quilt. And here is a Bargello baby quilt that she had made at one point. And I just love it. I think it's just beautiful. Very peaceful and baby-like. Lovely. Okay. Now, Miss Mary. I think Miss Mary sent this morning, which reminds me a lot of the other one that our Betty M sent. And I just love how all of these colors react to each other. That is awesome. So you can pretty much, I mean, it's amazing what the fabrics do with each other. And here is her nod to the 19th century quilt. She's already finished hers, and mine's still waiting for me. I will get it finished. It's close, but isn't that wonderful? She's already quilted it, pieced back and all. I always admired pieced backs. I'm not good at making them, but I want to learn more. And Miss Melanie. Miss Melanie couldn't join us this week because she decided to just up and have her shoulder replaced. She decided there wasn't enough excitement in her life, so she had to have her shoulder redone. So here is her little nursemaid taking very good care of mommy, staying right by mommy. And that is so cute. So let me see. Here are Melanie's nod to the 19th century blocks. They're just lovely. And I can't wait to see these pulled together. I think they're absolutely amazing. Oh, there is the little girl making sure mommy feels good. Isn't that cute? Dogs, when you come home from the hospital, they love to stick to you like glue. They're going to make sure that you are okay. So that was so cute. So please keep getting well. Take good care of yourself, Melanie. We want that shoulder to heal beautifully. And good luck with your I forgot to show this one. I love that. It's really hot pink, even though it looks like red right there. So that's fun. But we hope you do well in your physical therapy and you're soon back to your normal, wonderful self. Okay. Here is Melton. This is her wonderful quilt. I was trying to think that what the name was. I think competition is the wrong name, but this is the same man, a younger man and his older man self. So she's very thoughtful, and her quilts very often give us something to think about. Here is the young man starting out in the womb. And this is in her Etsy store. So please keep a lookout because she does some absolutely beautiful works. And then they're often put for sale in her Etsy shop. So way to go. That's beautiful. All right. Thank you, Miss Melton. I need to write down the name of her shop because I tend to forget, and I apologize for that. Now, Miss Michelle sent us this wonderful, and notice back here, that is her Bargello that we did as a class some years ago. And then look at this beautiful quilt that she finished. I love this. I love the the wonderful tulip flowers. I love these square on point squares that act as sashing. What a great job. And looks like she might be working on the binding of that these next couple weeks. So we're thinking of you, Miss Michelle. Keep getting better, hon. All right. Now let me see. Miss Robin. Now we know that Miss Robin sent us this great Halloween picture, but look at her flower garden. Isn't that something? I just love. I see daylilies. I see Asiatic lilies. I see liatrice. I see purple cone flowers, two different varieties. I mean, this is what I would call a riot of color. It is wonderful. And look how that the little million bells spill over the front. That is beautiful. Then she recently had Canada Day. So here are two of her Canada Day quilts. A wonderful, humorous, loving camping quilt. Then another view of that amazing flower bed. And I just love it. There are all kinds of perennials in that bed. It's wonderful. And I love her big planter here, which looks like a white phlox, and then more of those heuchera, the million bells, which are like little miniature petunias. And here's one of her purple cone flowers that did a very interesting mutation last year. That's fascinating. Okay, thank you, Miss Robin. We love seeing your gardens, your art, whatever you would like to share with us. Then Miss Rose is another one of our newer members. This is from her dock at home in Canada in the winter, then her dock at home in Canada in the summer. A beautiful close-up sunflower, colorful carrots, and colorful tomatoes. Beautiful, beautiful. So please send us pictures of your work, your gardens, whatever makes your heart happy, whatever makes your heart sing, we would love to see. Then Sheila, another new member, sent us this amazing quilt, which is a heart Bargello. Look at this. Isn't that amazing? So once you master what makes the Bargello tick, then you could do all kinds of shapes. So thank you, Miss Sheila. That was definitely worth seeing. Miss Sonia, I had pulled these off earlier, pictures she had shared with us because her work is exquisite. Look how everything lays so flatly. I can only dream of that. Okay. And here is a beautiful double wedding ring quilt. Oh, pardon me for the hiccups. I must be swallowing a lot of air. That is beautiful. And then this quilt is dedicated to her beautiful daughter, Nessa. That is just beautiful, hon. Oh, there's one more picture too. She quilts. Look at this. She quilts with her domestic. I can only imagine what that must be like. Look at all of that. That is a huge quilt. She does absolutely beautiful work. We love that, Miss Sonia. We want to see a picture of that when you're done, hon. That's wonderful. I love her machine. It sings. It's the sweetest machine you'd ever want to see. Okay, Teresa Jukovic. We hadn't seen her in a while, and she popped up, and it was great to see her. Here is a Bargello she made. Look at those gorgeous colors. Those are my colors. They're really good jewel tones. Beautiful. And then here is a close-up of the blocks. Oh, these are separate blocks. Now that's fascinating. I'd never heard of this method of putting them together. That's fascinating. Okay, then this is a wonderful quilt that she has made. It says happiness is homemade. And I have to shrink it down to go to the next one. It is so good seeing your quilts. Oh, I love this. This is like a big star, but look how each segment are different blocks. That's fascinating. Oh, look at that. A wonderful bed runner. It looks like it could definitely pull across the bed and make it very cozy. Wonderful Dresden plate. Okay. And then look at this color. And that is like a stack and whack where you make, looks like 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, yeah, that's 8. Those are 8-piece wedges cut from exact replica pieces of fabric to make amazing, amazing hexagons. That is beautiful. And I love the borders around them. Exquisite, hon. Okay. So thank you, Miss Teresa. It's good seeing you and even better seeing your amazing work. All right. I think that is it. I'll come back. So by showing you, whoops, let me get everything back in place here. By showing you the pictures of, turn my camera. By showing you the pictures of the Bargello, I kind of did that little, quickie roundup of how do you make a Bargello. The main thing is you can easily use jelly roll strips, and you sew the strips into long strip sets, 2.5 inches maybe by width of fabric, which could be anywhere 42 to 45 inches. So you sew them in long strips. Then you're going to cut them in rings by going the opposite way. And you make these tubes, which makes the Bargello process so much easier. And then it's just a matter of rolling the tube. And see, these little cuts were made off of a tube. And I haven't opened them up yet. I've just got them pinned, but this is where I think it should start. So I just open that seam allowance. And when I do, I sew it to the other piece. And when you make, Swan Quilt Art is her store. So I hope you see that. So Swan Quilt Art. Whoops. Now let me try that again. Swan Quilt Art. Oh, I keep deleting it. Okay. Swan Quilt Art is the name of Malcolm's store, which I need to write that down. So Swan Quilt Art. And it's on Etsy. So check out, because our Melton has amazing things. All of her bags and things are sewn together so exquisitely. She really goes that extra step. So she's a very talented lady. And all of her sales, that money goes back into helping her create more. And that's wonderful. I tell you what, life can be stressful. And what really separates us out is how we can find fulfilling activities and hobbies during the non-work times. It is the best way to get through life. And we all know how important that is after the pandemic and everything else that's been happening. So it's really, really nice. Speaking of that too, I was so busy with planning for the class and sewing for the class. So the dishes piled up in the sink. The house didn't get vacuumed. But guess what? Soon as the class was over, I wanted my home back. So I washed all those dishes and I vacuumed. And I went out yesterday in the early part of the day because it's been hot here. And I planted lima beans and squash. I did some weeding in my little garden. And then I planted some gladiolas. They're a little late, but at least they're in the ground. And I really enjoyed myself. It was good for my soul. And so I'm hoping now that tomorrow I have a couple little things to handle, but my goal is to see how many hours I can spend in my hammock in my sunroom. And it's inside in the air conditioning. It takes up the whole width of the room because it's a big stand and it's a big 5-foot cotton rope hammock. And I'm going to see how many hours. So I'm going to let the dogs out, make sure everything's good, and then tell them, you can't disturb me. I'm in the hammock. So anyway, that's going to be my reward to myself for getting everything whipped back into shape. Mark went to the grocery store this morning, so we got a bunch of fresh hamburger that I'm going to turn into taco salad meat because, Jody, I'll put it on our site. Jody gave me the best. It's one Terry invented, and it is wonderful. Like you pre-cook your hamburger, and I was thinking I could put like half of the taco seasoning in the hamburger, but then he takes and sprinkles on the salad the rest of the seasoning. And so in a big bowl, you put the cooled down hamburger. And Daddy's home from his motorcycle ride. So they're excited. Hush, hush. And so then you take chopped lettuce in a big bowl, the cooled hamburger, some of the taco seasoning, a sprinkle of that around, shredded cheese, diced tomatoes, diced avocado. I'm trying to think of what else. Anything like that you would like on your tacos. Mix it up with, I even thought, put some salsa in the bowl and sour cream and mix it all up and chill it. What a refreshing salad. Then just get it out, put some tortilla chips on your plate, put the taco salad. What a wonderful way to be able to eat a good homemade dinner that you didn't have to heat the kitchen up for because it's been chilling in your refrigerator. So we're going to make some taco salad for dinner. And then I'm going to make up some manwich to put in the freezer and some more taco meat to put in the freezer. And this week I said, we're eating cool and easy. So it's going to be sub sandwiches, BLTs, barbecue on a bun. He bought everything to make it nice and easy this week. So we're very excited. So take good care of yourself. Stay cool. Don't overheat yourself. We shall get through this, I promise. This is July, dog day of summer, and it is hot. Oh, but you know what? It might be a very good time for you to take up circle weaving, because that doesn't work up much of a sweat. As you saw, it's pretty easy. So take up a new hobby. That's the best part of summer, is be a kid and have fun. And take good care of yourself. Binge watch a really good show. And we finished all of the Diplomat series on Netflix. Now I got to see, did her husband live through the bombing of the car? I don't know. We'll have to wait until next season. Cliffhangers galore. Anyway, everybody take good care of yourself. Have a great middle of July week. And I'll see you Thursday night. Bye-bye. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for everyone who checked on the class, got a pattern, all of that. Take such good care of yourself. Bye-bye.